Good morning, scholars. As you can see, this is the proper way to annotate your paper. All right, we're going to start with the beginning. You notice we look at the title. In the title, you can see that I boxed around on because on is a prefix. On means not, and I underline ending, the unending dust, and I made my prediction. So I think that this text is going to be about dust that keeps blowing. As you look at paragraph number 1, you notice that the first 3 words, quickly, children, quickly, they all have exclamation marks there. So the paragraph opens up with excitement. And as I continue to read, I noticed that the children were outside. And so I made that note for myself because I wanted to be aware of the fact that whatever is happening, they were outside. And the teacher, I'm going to infer that Miss Hatcher is the teacher because Miss Hatcher's voice could barely be heard over the noise of the wind. Go back into the school now. You notice she said that with excitement, so I'm assuming that she's the teacher and she's trying to get them back into the building. The second paragraph, you notice I underlined Jake. And I also, in the first paragraph, underlined Miss Hatcher because I noticed that they were characters. And as I continue to read paragraph 2, you notice I put a note next to the paragraph because they use a lot of descriptive language. And just in case one of my questions in the end asks me about a specific character trait or something in particular that was happening in the text, I could come back here and I could look here at my descriptive language. So as I continue to read, I noticed that a storm is coming. And I made a note there. So when I come back and read again, I could be reminded of the fact that the storm was actually coming in the second paragraph. Once I got into the third paragraph, I noticed that Miss Hatcher thanked Jake for something. And so there were tears in her eyes as she gazed at him. I boxed gazed because if I was unsure what that word meant, I was going to go back and look at the sentence before. And if she thanked him and there were tears in her eyes, so gazed tells me here that she's really looking at him very deeply and she's appreciative of something. When I get to paragraph 3, after several close calls with the great clouds of dust, the students knew what to do. So you notice outside of here, I said, this shows that this has happened before. Sorry for the pause. This shows that this has happened before. So the students were used to this storm occurring. And as I move over to paragraph number 5, you notice that in this paragraph, I circled Molly. And I circled Molly for a reason because it says, suddenly, little Susie Hatcher began to cry. I can't find Molly, Susie cried. So immediately I noted that there was a problem. Susie was even allowed to bring her to school. I think I left her outside. Here's a feeling of sadness. So I made a note of that just in case, again, one of my questions asked me in particular about Susie or asked me at a time when someone was really sad or what problems occurred. And when I get to my next paragraph, Miss Hatcher's eyes met Jake. I immediately made a note of the connection here. And I realized that they both were thinking the same thing. So I made a note here. And you notice frantically, appease, I boxed those two because those are important vocabulary words in this text that really help me to understand what's happening right now. Molly was rescued. So when you read this paragraph, in the paragraph above, there was a problem, but you notice in the next paragraph, the problem was resolved because Molly was rescued. In my next paragraph, you notice again that I made a note that said, don't cry, Susie. At this time, they were comforting Susie just so they can ease her mind. Because think about it, if she had lost her doll earlier and they found it, they wanted to make sure that she was okay. Susie's happy laugh filled the room, and some of the tensions and others seemed to melt away. Notice in the beginning, Susie wasn't as happy. But towards the end, see how the character change, characterization, how the character shift from being sad to being happy. And also another word I boxed out was tensions. So I'm going to read the sentence before and the sentence that, the lines before, and the line that the word is in to see what's happening here. And I realized that the problem was resolved. So, you notice, scholars, I took time out to annotate, not because I just wanted to underline, but I wanted to make sure I was aware of what was actually happening throughout the text. Now I'm going to look at my questions. And you notice I also annotate my questions. And the reason being is so I can be sure of what the question is asking me. So you look at question number 1. Which sentence from the text? So that lets me know that I need to go back into the text in order to find that answer. Question number 2 is a basic comprehension question. You notice it starts out with the word what. Question number 3, another basic comprehension question. In order to understand and be able to answer the comprehension questions, scholars, you have to read the text. You cannot answer those questions without reading the text. Question number 4, what lesson could be learned from the story? Remember the skill theme? You notice comprehension, theme. Those are recurring tics that you will see quite often, especially in 8th grade. Question number 5, which adjective? That's descriptive language. Remember, we talked about descriptive language earlier. Remember, I did this before I even looked at the questions. And so I was able to find the right answer. Please, scholars, take time out to annotate your text. Annotate your text so that you will be able to find the right answer. I know this video may have had a couple of errors in it, but I wanted to make sure that you understand why it is important to annotate. Thank you and have a great day.